Hey guys, Justin from Talk Android here with the new Galaxy S7 and the new G5 from Samsung and LG respectively. Both were announced on February 21st at MWC 2016 in Barcelona. Then Samsung released the Galaxy S7 on March 11th. LG released the G5 on April 1st, so you can buy them throughout the world from various carriers and retailers. So today we're just going to do a little rundown of the two phones, see how they stack up, and we'll start with the overall design. The Galaxy S7 is primarily glass. It has a metal frame, however. You can see that as I twist the device around. The G5 is pretty much just metal, but there's a lot of debate as to whether or not it's actually metal, but we can confirm, and LG has released a statement, that the G5 is made of metal. There's just a thick layer of primer covering the aluminum body, and that primer is meant to bond the paint that you see to make the color on the G5. It's supposed to bond that paint with the aluminum body. So you can get the G5 in black, gray, pink, or gold. You can get the Galaxy S7 in black, gray, gold, and white. That white variant, however, is not available in all markets. Same goes with really for all the colors of both phones. Not every carrier and retailer has, and region has all colors available. So if now we move on to the size, you'll notice that the Galaxy S7 is noticeably smaller than the G5. The Galaxy S7 is shorter, narrower, but thicker than the G5. However, the G5 is a little bit heavier, but that's just because overall size. It's just larger, so no surprise that it's going to be heavier. It's refreshing that Samsung's flagship is so compact. It's very comfortable in one hand. That's not to say the G5 isn't comfortable in one hand. It's just the Galaxy S7 is so compact, and for a flagship, that's really impressive. So with buttons and ports, on the back of the G5, we have the power button surrounded with a chrome trim. It's slightly raised, as you can see at an angle. And that power button doubles as a fingerprint scanner. Samsung's power button is on the side like you traditionally see. And that's just because the home button is on the front as usual. That home button doubles as a fingerprint scanner as well. So Samsung's going for a traditional approach. LG is just continuing with the innovation. But LG did move its volume rocker to the left side. That's the same spot where Samsung has the volume rocker on the Galaxy S7. The other thing about design is that the Galaxy S7 is IP68 certified, meaning it can get wet. It can handle a dust storm. Meanwhile, the G5 might not be so lucky and survive. You'll notice for the displays, LG is a little bit larger. The G5's display is 5.3 inches with Quad HD resolution, while the Galaxy S7 has a 5.1 inch Super AMOLED display with Quad HD resolution. So they both have the same resolution, but different technologies. So the Galaxy S7's display is warmer, more vibrant, more rich, I guess you could say, and there's more pixels per inch because the display size is smaller. The G5's display could be more accurate, but it will be colder than what you see on the Galaxy S7. They both have an always-on display, as you can see. Samsung's advantage with the always-on display is that it is able to use less power because AMOLED technology only lights up the pixels necessary. So whatever you see lit here is lit. This black space all around and everywhere else is not lit. The G5's always on display, however, this whole panel has to illuminate in order for just that little bit up there to show. LG's always on display, though, is better in terms of use because it shows different icons for apps that are pushing notifications. Meanwhile, Samsung's always on display just shows this basic information of the date and time, and you can change a few things, but it's not all that special. So if we unlock the phones, you will see that there are two different versions of software overlays going on. LG is using UX 5.0 based on Marshmallow. Samsung is using TouchWiz based on Marshmallow. They all have their own touches. You can poke around. They're similar in a sense, but they're both refined, and that's very refreshing because TouchWiz and LG's UX have been very dated and rather ugly at times, but they've both really been refined to actually be attractive. So I think regardless of which you choose, you're getting good software. You may not like it as much as stock Android, but it's a lot better than it's been. So inside these phones, Samsung has either, depending upon your market, has the Snapdragon 820 with 4 gigabytes of RAM or its own Exynos 8890 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. LG has that same Snapdragon 820 with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So the same power is inside. There's just, optimization going on. So performance may vary. You'll notice at the bottom of the G5, there are on-screen buttons for going back, going home, and multitasking. Samsung has a physical home button with its multitasking button to the left and the back button to the right. That's a little confusing because, that's not how Google envisions Android. So there might be a confusion like I had because I came from a Nexus 5X. So if now we lock the phones and we look at the bottoms, on the bottom of the G5 is a speaker. Same thing goes for the bottom of the Galaxy S7, but at the center of the G5, you'll see a different port than the Galaxy S7. That's because LG is using a USB a Type-C port. Meanwhile, Samsung is sticking with that usual micro USB port. They have different benefits and everything, but Samsung's does still have fast charging, as does the Galaxy S7 with its micro USB port. So you're still going to charge up pretty fast. The battery for the G5 is 2800 mAh, while the Galaxy S7's battery is 3000 mAh. So you're getting sizable batteries. You're just getting a little bit of a beefier one in the Galaxy S7. That could explain its extra thickness compared to the G5. So on the bottom of the Galaxy S7 is also an auxiliary port. That auxiliary port on the G5 is up top, and it's also with an IR blaster, which Samsung is no longer using. At the top of the G5, you get that IR blaster to control different electronics and home appliances. And the other little hole you see there is probably a microphone or a little cutout for an antenna. The same cutout is for the Galaxy S7, and also on the top of the Galaxy S7 is a little slot that stores the SIM card and a microSD card. The microSD card slot and SIM card slot for the G5 is on its right side. So both phones come with a little tool. You just poke them in, and the tray comes out, and you can pop in a microSD card or a SIM card to change that. And the cameras on the back, Samsung has a 12 megapixel camera with LED flash, and there's a little heart rate sensor on the back. So if you use S Health, you can take advantage of it with the heart rate sensor. LG's camera is bigger because it's actually not just one camera. There's not just one camera on the back. There are two. So there's a 16 megapixel camera, and then there's an 8 megapixel wide angle lens, and that wide angle lens allows you to get more into your shots. I've found so far, but we will do more testing, I found so far that the Galaxy S7's camera is better, but we're going to do more testing, and we'll have that for you. Pricing-wise, the G5 is less expensive than the Galaxy S7. Not by much, but it is less expensive. And that really equates to the Galaxy S7 just being better made. You know, it feels better in the hand. It's more compact, easier to hold and everything. The G5 doesn't really feel cheap. It just doesn't feel as premium as you would expect from a flagship phone in 2016. And plus, the power button is actually loose. I don't know if that's just my unit or, you know, it's a production issue LG's experiencing, but my power button is actually loose. Same thing goes for the volume rocker. Samsung's power button and volume rocker is actually really tight. That's surprising. Same thing goes with the home button. The home button doesn't budge whatsoever, no matter what. So that's an extra treat. And before I mentioned the microSD card and SIM card slot, for storage, you get internally for both phones 32 gigabytes. That may change depending upon the market, but here in the United States, both ship with 32 gigabytes of storage. For colors, Samsung is doing black, gray, gold, and white. That will depend upon the market you get the phone in, and the carrier, and the retailer. And same thing goes for the G5. Depending upon where you go, you will be able to get the G5 in black, gray, pink, or gold. So that is really it for the overall design, software, and everything. We're going to have more on both phones coming soon. But when you're not talking about the phones, they have companion devices and accessories. LG is really going for it. With LG Friends, it's a collection of devices like the modules. That's the other thing. LG has a modular design going on. So if I just shut down the G5 real quick, let's shut this down. You see a crease or a divide here. That's because the chin of the phone comes off, so you can pop in new modules. So if we press the little button that you see here, if we press it in, it's actually pretty tough to press, so you'll never accidentally get it. So once you slide it out, it doesn't take that hard of a tug. Once you slide it out, you get a removable battery. Like I said, it's 2800 mAh compared to the Galaxy S7's 3000. And you can remove it, swap in a new one. But the modules, there's a camera one that's a camera grip with an extended battery, and it allows you to take pictures with increased zoom and a dedicated shutter button. There's that module that pops into here. Then there's another module that LG made through a partnership with B&O that improves the audio on the G5. So those are the only two modules for now. But other companion devices with the G5 include the LG 360 cam. That is a 360 degree camera, and Samsung has the same thing on the way in the Gear 360. They're just 360 degree cameras that take pictures and videos of everything around that device, and then it can be uploaded for playback on YouTube and other services. Another virtual reality based device for both of these are virtual reality headsets. The LG 360 VR is LG's virtual reality headset. Meanwhile, everyone knows Samsung has the Gear VR, which people who pre-ordered the Galaxy S7 and S7 Edge are getting for free. So they both have virtual reality headsets. There's a bunch of other smaller ones for the G5 that are out there, but they're not being pushed as hard as the modules or the virtual reality-based devices. Other than that, though, other than the Gear VR and the Gear 360, there's really no major accessory for the Galaxy S7. There's special wireless charging pads out there, but other than that, there's just nothing all that special. So that's it for this little rundown of the two phones. And we will have more on TalkAndroid.com coming soon. So be on the lookout for our full review of the LG G5 and the Samsung Galaxy S7.